Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, tensions surrounding Israel's hostile borders once again intensified over the weekend, raising renewed concern over a possible escalation. The Israeli Air Force allegedly targets a concentration of Iranian troops and vehicles, as well as pro-Iranian militias in the area of Abu Kamel in eastern Syria, reportedly killing at least 18 Shiite Islamists. The Lebanese-Iranian proxy Hezbollah reportedly downed an Israeli unmanned aerial vehicle this morning, moments after the drone penetrated Lebanon's airspace. Tensions surrounding Israel's hostile borders once again intensified over the weekend, raising renewed concern over a possible escalation. The situation began to deteriorate on Friday when thousands of Palestinians participated in a demonstration on the Gaza-Israel frontier, which according to the IDF spokesperson's unit quickly turned violent. The IDF said that during the course of the riot, a large number of explosive devices, grenades, and firebombs were hurled at the security barrier in the direction of the Israeli forces. In addition, there were an increased number of infiltration attempts during which several Palestinians managed to cross the border into Israeli territory. Two of the suspects who infiltrated Israel from the northern district of the Hamas-controlled enclave were immediately apprehended by an IDF force. While no weapons were found in their possession, the two Palestinians were transferred to Israel's security agency Shin Bet for further questioning. Meanwhile, despite the IDF spokesperson's unit insistence that it responded to the violent rioters along the border with crowd dispersal means, two Palestinian teenagers aged 14 and 17 were reportedly killed. The IDF rejected Gaza's claim, however, underscoring that the IDF does not have any information regarding Palestinian casualties. In contrast, the Islamist Hamas said it mourns the Palestinian victims killed by what it termed as Israeli occupation forces. In a statement, the Islamist Hamas organization vowed to perpetuate the violent demonstrations, which it referred to as the Great March of Return. The statement further read that the Friday demonstrations are a continuation of the path of resistance taken by the Palestinian people until liberation and independence. Several hours later, close to midnight, Palestinian Islamists launched a barrage of rockets from the Gaza Strip towards Israel's southern communities. The IDF confirmed that 5 projectiles were fired. 4 landed in undisclosed areas, and even though the other exploded in an uninhabited area of Sderot, 2 women in the city sustained shock and were transferred to a medical center for treatment. Shortly thereafter, an IDF aircraft and a tank conducted a retaliatory strike against a number of Hamas military targets in the northern Gaza Strip, including a post and military positions. The next day, on Saturday, an Islamist cell launched an unmanned aerial vehicle from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory, which dropped an explosive device onto an IDF vehicle in the area of the security fence before it was remotely flown back to the Islamist Strip. Even though the military vehicle was lightly damaged, no Israeli injuries were reported. In an immediate response to the attack, an Israeli aircraft targeted the squad which had launched the drone. In addition, IDF fighter jets and an aircraft also struck a number of additional Hamas military targets, including offensive naval equipment and 2 military compounds belonging to the Islamist aerial array in the northern and central Palestinian enclave. The IDF underscored in a statement that it will continue operating against all efforts to harm Israeli civilians and soldiers, while stressing that the IDF holds Hamas responsible for all that transpires in the Gaza Strip and emanates from it. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the citizens of southern Israel for their resilience. In an opening statement of his weekly cabinet meeting, the Israeli leader vowed to maintain the security of Israel by means of vigorous action against any attempt to harm the country's citizens and soldiers.
אנחנו פועלים בתקיפות מול כל ניסיון לפגוע באזרחינו או בחיילינו, כפי שהראינו שוב הלילה לא נסבול כל ניסיון תוקפנות נגדנו ונשמור על ביטחון ישראל. בהזדמנות הזאת אני מבקש להביע שוב הערכה לעמידתם האיתנה של תושבי העוטף והדרום. הם מאפשרים לנו מרחב פעולה להילחם באויבינו בדרך הנכונה.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also mentioned his trip to the United Kingdom last week, during which he met with his British counterpart Boris Johnson, as well as the top defense officials of both Britain and the United States.
הדיונים עסקו בעיקר, כמעט כולם, באיראן ובגרורות של איראן באזורנו, בראשם החיזבאללה, והצעדים הנדרשים על ידי ישראל, אלה שבוצעו ואלה שיבוצעו על ידי ישראל, כמובן במידת האפשר בתיאום עם ארצות הברית, בראש ובראשונה.
The Israeli Prime Minister also revealed that he will very likely travel to Russia later this week for discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin about ongoing coordination between the respective militaries in Syria.
בהמשך השבוע ייתכן מאוד שאני אהיה גם ברוסיה כדי לדון על המשך התיאום הצבאי עם הנשיא פוטין כדי למנוע התנגשות מול הפעילות המוגברת של איראן וגרורותיה נגדנו והפעילות המוגברת שלנו נגדם.
The comments by the Israeli leader came several hours before reports surfaced earlier this morning regarding an unidentified bombardment of Iranian installations in Syria's eastern village of Abu Kamel, situated near the border with Iraq. Informed sources told TV7 that Shiite militias in coordination with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force attempted to launch a missile in the direction of Israel. While the projectile failed to breach Israeli airspace, the Israeli Air Force immediately responded by targeting a concentration of the Islamic Republic's troops and vehicles, as well as pro-Iranian militias. At least 18 Shiite Islamists were reportedly killed in the strike, which took place in eastern Syria. In response to the alleged Israeli attack, a number of rockets were launched early this morning from the outskirts of the Syrian capital Damascus, which the IDF spokesperson's unit identified as Shiite militia operatives operating under the Iranian Quds Force. The IDF further underscored that it holds the Syrian regime responsible for all events taking place in Syria and warned the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that it will bear the consequences of allowing Iran to operate from its territory.